Second phase of occlusal adjustment consists of creating a groove for centric cusp, eliminating centric contacts, eliminating lateral and protrusive interference, and both A and C. Now, this is a question that really bothers a lot of students. So, we are going to talk in depth about occlusal equilibration. Now, occlusal equilibration or correction is to be done in 4 phases. We are talking about a full mouth rehabilitation or occlusal rehabilitation, okay? Now, this is different from a complete denture rehabilitation because in complete denture, we want balancing contacts. That means we want teeth on the non-working side also to have contacts to maintain the stability of the denture. But in fixed restorations, we want the interferences to be completely adjusted or equilibrated so that there are no interferences when the patient is chewing with the natural dentition. Now, the 4 phases of occlusal equilibration are, the first one is centric relation. So in centric relation, whatever reduction has to be done should be done in centric relation. The first set of corrections has to be done in centric relation. The second is lateral excursion. That is medial and lateral movements. So side to side movements, whatever interferences are recorded, they have to be removed. Then the third is posterior teeth excursion. So protrusive, once your lateral is done, then protrusive interferences are to be adjusted. And lastly, harmonization with anterior guidance. Now, what does all this mean? So, when you ask the patient to bite, okay, you will see that the first point of contact here is a centric cusp contact. That means this point over here is desirable, okay, because the opposing cusp, the maxillary cusp, is going to sit in this fossa and you want this contact to be present. Now, how does an articulating paper work? An articulating paper is going to record all the contact areas that are being in contact with each other, okay? So if the upper cusp is touching the lower fossa, you will get a dot with the articulating paper. Now, if the dot looks like this, say for example, that means a halo around it, not a very clear dot. That shows that some part of it is not very uniformly touching and that needs to be adjusted. So this is an interference and this is a contact. Okay, so you want only point filled kind of a contact, not a target eye appearance kind of a contact when you check with an articulating paper. So first thing to do is check these contacts in centric relation. That means the maximum intercuspation or the occlusion that you have rehabilitated for the patient without doing any movements in a static relation, okay? And if you find any interference, you have to adjust that. The second point you have to do is the front and back, is the side to side movement, is the excursive movement. So mediotrusive and laterotrusive are excursive movements. So you ask the patient to take right or left and then you will get these marks over there, this blue and this pink, okay, because of the upper cusp in front and back. So if you get a proper contact, a straight line, that means the record is okay. If you find that there is discontinuity, that means there is not enough space for that upper cusp to glide over that kind of a surface. So you need to adjust that. The third thing that you will address is the protrusive interference. That means when you ask the patient to bite edge to edge, you will see some imprints of the lower teeth on the palatal surface of the upper teeth, like this. So this is phase 3. Okay. Now here if you see, the points are in centric relation. These points normally should be present in centric relation And when the patient glides forward, then these red ribbon marks, lines will come in protrusive. Okay. See, verify dots in back and lines in front. So when you ask the patient to take teeth in front, edge to edge, that is when you will see these lines. Now, usually you should use two different colors of articulating paper for centric interferences and centric assessment, and a different colored articulating paper for the movements. Now coming back here, after all of this is adjusted, you are going to adjust the anterior guidance. So what is anterior guidance? Anterior guidance is when you take your teeth edge to edge, your posterior teeth should have separation because you have a mutually protected occlusion. So in a normal dentition, the posterior tooth, when they are in contact in centric relation, the anterior teeth will not contact, and vice versa. So that has to be replicated in the occlusal rehabilitation. That is the fourth stage of occlusal rehabilitation. Now, how do you do each of this? So for the first one, in the centric relation is a bone to bone relation, right? So in this point of skeletal relationship, whatever occlusion we have developed is called centric occlusion. Now in this centric occlusion, we just need a static record, right? We need the cusp and fossa. So this is maxillary tooth and this is mandibular tooth. This is the palatal cusp and this is the buccal cusp. These are functional cusps or stamp cusp. Palatal of upper and buccal of lower. Bull you can remember for non-functional cusp. Buccal of upper and lingual of lower are non-functional cusps. Okay, opposite is functional. Now what does this functional and non-functional mean? This means that this cusp is actively participating by going into the fossa and helping in grinding. Okay, similarly the buccal cusp is going in this fossa and helping in grinding. So if you want to check whether the buccal cusp is going into the fossa, you should get a mark over here. If you want to see the palatal cusp is going properly in the fossa, you should get a mark at the fossa. But if you see that it is not a proper circular contact like I showed you, if you see that the contact is not like this, instead it is like this, okay, like a halo, like a target eye appearance, then you have to reduce something. Now two options are either to reduce the cusp or to deepen the fossa. But cusp, you will not reduce the stamp cusps. You will not do any harm to palatal of the upper or buccal of the lower. Instead, you will deepen the fossa like this. Okay, if that is also reaching a threshold, then you will touch the cusp. So first thing to do is the centric equilibration by reducing or deepening the fossa. The next step is the side to side movement. So if you have your centric points verified, these are your centric contacts. This is how your contact should be in centric relation. Do you see all these black dots? You need those in your centric position. Then you start grinding for protrusive for lateral interferences. So right or left, depending on the movement of the tooth. So if you are going medially, you will see these lines. If you are going laterally, you will see these lines. Again, you will not harm the stamp cusp, you will not harm the functional cusp, you will start gradualizing the grooves. So grooves you have to deepen or modify in excursive movements, that is side to side movement. Then the third stage is anterior guidance, where you are going to check for these lines and these dots. And the fourth stage is you are going to harmonize all the anterior guidance. So now here we have another example. Suppose this is the upper tooth and this is the lower tooth. So this cusp, suppose, is interfering over here. Okay, then you can reduce the lower cusp because this is the lingual cusp. This is the palatal cusp. You see, instead of deepening the fossa here, you are reducing the lower cusp, the lingual cusp of the lower. So a rule to follow over here is MUDL. That means if you have to reduce the inclines, you will reduce the mesial of upper and distal of lower. So you see the distal incline of the lingual cusp is reduced here. Okay. Similarly, if you had to reduce the upper cusp, you will reduce the mesial incline of the upper cusp. This dotted line, this dotted line. Okay. So this rule, MUDL, is another rule that you need to remember for correction of cuspal, for recontouring the cusps which are non-functional. The last image over here shows long centric. That means your occlusal rehabilitation should have this feature which is elaborated over here. Now, what is this feature? In centric position, there will be a good interlocking of the cusp and fossa, but when there is some amount of gliding contact, there should be some freeway or some free space available for teeth to accommodate these interferences. This is known as long centric. That means you are providing some long area for allowing movement in centric relation. This has to be incorporated in the occlusion. This is Dawson's philosophy. All these images and the explanation is from this book known as Dawson by Peter Dawson. It is on occlusion and TMJ. Okay, so this is a very standard reference book. You can definitely go through the equilibration procedure here. Let me run it through for you. So find and verify centric relation. First is centric relation or adapted centric posture, and rule out any intracapsular disorder. So first you need to make sure that the TMJ is okay. Then mount the cast with face bow in centric relation or adapted centric bite. Analyze and equilibrate. Then eliminate inclines that interfere with complete closure in centric relation. Then verify posterior teeth and anterior teeth in the alignment. Then verify that maximum intercuspation occurs in perfect harmony with centric relation. Then you start with excursive contact on posterior teeth. Then refine anterior guidance. Then recheck the posterior teeth with firmly clenching and grinding. There should be no contact on inclines. So these inclines that we spoke about earlier, you have to make sure that these are not heavy contact on inclines because these are marked as interferences. And then check the results, verify them. So coming back to the question, the second phase of occlusal adjustment consists of centric relation is in the first. So this is step 1. Creating a groove for centric stop. We spoke about this, right? This was in the step 2 in lateral movements. Eliminating lateral and protrusive interference. Lateral is in step 2. Protrusive and anterior guidance is ideally step 3, but it is a simultaneous procedure. A lot of textbooks will also tell you that you can do protrusive first and lateral later. So this is in step 2. And the last option is both A and C. So the correct answer is A and C. That means creating a groove, and lateral and protrusive interferences are second phase of occlusal adjustment.